Are you ever having a fun round? You know, looting high tier weapons, munching candy and slaughtering civilians, and then bang! Some ugly ass white guy completely ruins your career. Well, this is probably the experience of like 100% of SCP SL players who either just got the game or were making some classic mistakes. But either way, no matter which one of these you are, don't worry, as today I'll fully cover how to counter, avoid and kill this guy, or hell, even use him to your advantage. So without any wait, let's get right into it. Who and what is even SCP-096? He's an Euclid class SCP that's really tall and is really depressed. He will spawn in this small chamber which is usually located in one of the sides or the corners of the map. He can never spawn as the only SCP in the run and can also never spawn alongside an SCP-079 unless the server is modded or has way too many players. Which means when you get rage baited by 079 then you at least know you're safe from 096. But let's assume this is a normal round. Before you can fight or do anything with this guy you firstly need to know that he exists. Now as the round goes on, his existence will become more apparent to you as he slaughters everybody in the facility, but if the round just started and you're a brave adventurer, there will be some guidelines you need to follow unless you wanna get fucked by this guy. When you first arrive into Heavy, you should aim to always keep your head down on an angle which prevents you from walking right into an SCP, but also prevents you from seeing 096's face on the other side of this massive corridor. As until you know if there's an 096 or not, every look down a long corridor is basically gambling with your life. However, there's many ways you can turn this gambling into actually survivable situations. For surviving 096, your best friends are gonna be elevators. You should always memorize the locations of every elevator in the facility and do your best to keep them at your level. This way you basically establish checkpoints throughout the map which you can use to escape the shy guy if you ever look at him. By smartly keeping elevators up your sleeve, the risk of dying to 096 in certain parts of the facility drops to 0, which means you can keep your head up to significantly improve your chances of surviving other SCPs or enemy combatants. Now assuming that you have a functioning pair of headsets and ears, your second best weapon against 096 will be audio. SCP-096 crying and especially the rage state can be heard from many rooms away. So instead of not paying attention and yapping random stuff, you can always track his position with your ears and not have to look down 24/7. The only times where you wanna be careful of 096 sneaking up on you is in the slow-death waterfall room and also when Cassie starts yapping the most useless announcement ever at 200% volume. Fun fact, the SCP-SL devs intentionally made Cassie loud and able to suppress other sounds to introduce a window of opportunity to do loud actions without it being heard. Wow, this is such a fun and useful mechanic and is definitely worth it getting E-rate for. Thank you, Northwood. The other way SCP-096 can sneak up on you is if he uses his try not to cry ability. By pressing right click he can lean on any flat surface like this wall, a door or the worst of all, the checkpoint windows. That's why generally you always wanna keep your head down when opening doors, especially if there's a randomly closed door in the middle of 100 open ones, as that's very likely and desperate 096 attempt to catch you off guard. But it could also just be a 99 waiting to pounce on you, so make sure to always step to the side to be completely safe. But if somehow you don't see your hero 96 for a while, you can still know he's in the game by seeing if the bodies have this death message, or if you notice many broken doors in a pattern that will happen if he was chasing a victim. Anyways, now that you know who he is and how to always know his location, now it's time to actually kill him. You can do this in many different ways. The easiest way to kill 096 if he is stupid and isn't sticking next to his teammates. Then you can acquire a micro HID, charge it whilst following him and blast him with 1 bazillion volts of power. And unless you somehow miss everything, there's no chance he can rage up before dying to your micro. If the 096 isn't full HP, then you can also grab 2 machine guns and pray that you can kill him before he kills you. SCP-127 at tier 2 and 3 is really good for this due to his insane fire rate, but if that's not enough, you can also use a well-timed flashbang to buy you some extra time for shooting him. Another really simple way to kill him is if you have a group of friends with guns. Then you can just once again walk up to him and start blasting him, though make sure to always be careful since the 096 can use the doors to block you or even the elevators to escape you. Now in the most common scenario, the 096 will be together with a teammate, which means you can't casually walk up to him without being decimated. In this case, the only thing you can do is shoot him. I know, but I didn't wanna die. I wanna run to the elevator and cry, shut up bitch! Your ancestors in this facility had to fight a shy guy that could kill him without you even needing to look at him, not to mention he will also one-shot you, which will make your adrenaline or SCP-500 completely useless. So just equip your cross-vector and shoot 096. You'll be surprised how many times I've seen 096 pussy out after his shield disappeared in the first 3 seconds of fighting. It's kind of a 50-50 between if your team can shoot him enough to scare him away or if the 096 just won't care and will probably kill all of you, but he'll be left at like 5% HP, which means you'll kill him without any issues the next time you respawn. To maximize your chances of surviving, I will honestly recommend role-playing as a drill sergeant. You will also be surprised how shouting "Shoot! Fire! Fire! Fire!" and "Don't be pussies! Shoot up!" can improve the chances of your team being useful. Also, if your team has a shit ton of IQ, you can bait the 096 with like 1 or 2 people who look at him, whilst a few of you follow him secretly and wait for his range to end to obliterate him. But again, this becomes really difficult to do if he has competent teammates, especially if his teammate is SCP-173. If this combo of SCP spawn, then it's probably draw all over, not because they are a strong combo, but because your teammates are retarded. If this combo is present, looking down is straight up not worth it unless you wanna get slapped by 173, which means you need to look up, but then there's the 096. It's kind of a paradox until you realize that simply shooting them can solve all of your problems. But a big common mistake I see people do is getting baited by the 173. When this combo fights, the 173 usually teleports in front to soak up all of your initial bullets, which creates the perfect time window for the 096 to rage up, but also for you to have 0 bullets in your magazine because you shot them all into 173. So instead, if you see this combo, simply keep backing away and wait for 096 to charge in. Your squad will easily do a ton of damage to him, and 173 won't really be able to help out a lot due to him being slow and not being able to kill more than one person at a time. This combo will get more tricky if they have another fast DPS SCP like 99 to help out, but then you should also have more teammates, aka more firepower, to obliterate them. So in conclusion, don't be a pussy, show that your teammates to stick together and to not run away, and most importantly, don't shoot all of your bullets into an SCP that has a bazillion hume shield. You can also always try to elevator bomb him, but unless he's stupid, he probably won't fall for that. However, if the nuke gets enabled, things will change quite a lot. No matter how you look at it, activating the nuke will always be in your advantage against the 096. Often only a fast SCP like 173 will head to the silo to disable the nuke, which leaves both of them vulnerable to getting guns down, especially with all of the doors being open, so they have nothing to hide behind. If they decide to just ignore the nuke and go to the surface, then you can just elevator bomb them if they aren't paying attention, or if it's the last elevator Y that can escape without them being nuked. And once they arrive to the surface zone, you have an insane advantage over them as you can unload millions of bullets into them by the time they catch up to you. Anyways, now that we know the best ways for killing him, let's talk about on how to actually survive him or use him to your advantage. If you are freshly spawned class D, 096 can actually benefit you quite a lot as long as you avoid looking at him. When he's enraged, he's basically an infinite loot generator, so if all of your greedy teammates got all of the loot, you can just follow him around a bit and you'll be sure to find at least a card or two. He's also great for giving you protection against the guards early on. Now you generally shouldn't stick around 096 too much as he'll tell his teammates you're near him, but if the guards are flooding the zone and shooting everybody on sight, you are much better off going in the direction of the shy guy instead of trying to hide or juke the guards. They will usually always look at him, or if they're chasing you, they might even accidentally shoot him. And whilst all of that is happening, you simply look down but stay in safe spots from the 096 dashes and collect all of the awesome loot that's about to be dropped. But you can also use him as a combat buddy if you're outnumbered. Is 18 MTF about to flood the facility whilst you're all alone, then just stay in the general area of 196. Don't be in the same room or corridor as him as you may get shot accidentally by enemies or his protection teammates will kill you. Instead, just kinda linger around and keep a safe distance. If the MTF don't die to the shy guy, they'll definitely be moving forward but with their heads completely down, which gives you an easy opportunity to execute them without them even realizing. And even if they notice you, you'll have an advantage over them as their resources have been exhausted from fighting the SCPs. Now, if you look at 096, you have a default 100% chance of dying. However, there's multiple protocols you can follow to decrease this chance significantly. 196 rage duration depends on how many people look at him. If only you look at him, then his rage will last only 20 seconds, which means if you drop a well-timed flashbang and run for your life, you can actually survive most of the time. When running from 196, it's really recommended you close doors, but especially the bulkheads or gates. Sure, he can destroy your brute force through them all, but every single second or picosecond he spends on a door increases your odds of survival. But in general, flashbangs and grenades can be game changers against the SCPs because, well, the fuck are they gonna do when you're blind? You can also abuse the jailbird flash to blind and beat the shit out of SCP-096. But let's assume we don't have all of this fancy technology. If you just look at 096 piss naked, what do we do? Well, in most cases you're completely cooked unless you're in a room like the heavy test chamber or 106 room. If the 096 is bad at the game, you can kind of outmaneuver him on these fences or hell, even cause him to fall off whilst chasing you. But let's say there's none of these rooms, but instead you're in a group of 5 civilians and everybody looks at him right here. In that case, you should split away from the group as fast as possible because when 096 rages, he has a limited time to kill. And almost always, if people split up, he'll go in the vein in which there's more targets or more valuable targets. Like for example here, he'll definitely prioritize chasing 4 Class D instead of 1 scientist, or for example here, he'll probably prioritize chasing the 2 Class D that are going into entrance zone and can potentially escape, instead of the other 2 Class D that are just running back into heavy. Using SCP items can also buy you time to escape him. For example, insta-healing SCP 500s can buy you a few seconds, the Ghost Light and the Vase can buy you a few seconds by confusing him, the Cola can actually buy you a lot more time or allow you to juke him due to your high speed. However, the almighty hat won't be able to save you if you looked at him. And you can also drop the ball in tight spaces to deal quite some damage if he isn't careful. Also, I know some of my subscribers are gonna be like, oh my god, Toast is really scraping the barrel for SCP SL content, like look, he made an Count 096 guide video already. Okay, first of all, that video is 2 years old and the game back then is completely incomparable to what it is today. Secondly, that video is complete ass. I sound like a nerd recovering from street crack, and not to mention that the editing is sloppy as hell. So with it being one of my first successful SCP SL videos, I felt like I needed to give it some justice with my today's skills. Anyways, that was all of the strategies and tips I had to yap about on 9.6. I'd also recommend learning what the best SCP items in the game are, how I speedrunned every SCP SL achievement and almost jumped off a building. Shout out to my Patreon Ya69 and my channel members Eternal, Newbie and Zeko. Thank you a lot for watching and I'll see you next time.